We're getting a new Superman. Henry Cavill is out, according to his own social media and that of James Gunn, the co-head of DC Films. What does this mean? Are we getting a full-on reboot of the DC Extended Universe? Well, maybe, but maybe not. After all, James Gunn has implied that in the past that his Peacemaker series is going to get a second season, and that possibly there might be a future for the other project he was involved in, the Suicide Squad, which of course Peacemaker span out of. And they are firmly in the continuity of the DCEU universe. So what's going on? Let's talk about it. Hi, I'm Phil, welcome to my channel where I like to talk about all the geeky pop culture that I like, including things like Doctor Who, Red Dwarf, Star Trek, and of course, superheroes. Now, you've probably heard the news already that Henry Cavill is out as Superman. He's confirmed it on his own social media. This is what he said on, I think it was Instagram, but this is what he said. I've just had a meeting with James Gunn and Peter Safran, that's the other co-head of DC Films, and it's sad news, everyone. I will, after all, not be returning as Superman. After being told by the studio to announce my return back in October, prior to their hire, the news isn't the easiest, but that's life. The changing of the guard is something that happens. I respect that. James and Peter have a universe to build. I wish them and all involved with the new universe the best of luck and the happiest of fortunes. And he goes on to say, for those of you who have been at my side throughout the years, we can mourn for a bit, but then we must remember Superman is still around. Everything he stands for still exists, and the examples he sets for us are still there. My turn to wear the cape has passed, but what Superman stands for never will. It's been a fun ride with you all, onwards and upwards. A very diplomatic statement there from Henry Cavill, I think you'll agree. Very dignified. He's not being, vindictive about it. He's not being petty about it. He's not being snipey about it. He's just saying it is what it is. Let's move on. They've got a job to do and they're doing it. And I'd agree. Now from this, he uses words like they've got a universe to build, and that sounds like they're building a whole new universe, a whole new continuity that doesn't involve the Superman we've had in several films. And, it is strange, as he says, that he was told by Warner Brothers, the heads of Warner Brothers at the time, which has obviously changed since then, or the heads of DC Film at the time, to announce his return back in October. And I haven't seen it, but I believe he was in the Black Adam film in a quick cameo. That's why he was announced then, and that was going to lead into him returning in a more substantial role in the universe. But that's obviously, that plan isn't happening now. He also left the Witcher TV series. I don't think it was ever confirmed if they were connected, but I think the general opinion was that he probably left The Witcher so that he could come back as Superman. So he must be feeling a bit gutted now that he left that show and now he's not going to be Superman. That must really sting. But what's James Gunn got to say about it? Well, James Gunn has also tweeted out some tweets today on the matter. He said, Peter and I have a DC slate ready to go, which we couldn't be more over the moon about. We'll be able to share some exciting information about our first projects at the beginning of the new year. Among those on the slate is Superman. In the initial stages, our story will be focusing on an earlier part of Superman's life, so the character will not be played by Henry Cavill. But we've had meetings with Henry, and we're big fans, and talked about a number of exciting possibilities to work together in the future. Now that sounds a very different tone. That, coming from the person who is now in charge, or one of the two people that are now in charge of DC Films, doesn't sound like a hard reboot of the universe, and I don't think he's ever said that. What that sounds like to me, or the important things there, is that he's talking about a younger version of the character from an earlier point in his life. Not, however, an origin film, because somebody actually asked him in the comments to this, is this an origin film? Please tell me it's not an origin movie, and his reply was no way. So it's not an origin movie, but it is a younger version of Superman, and I think that's important. Remember that. Then let's think about Peacemaker and the Suicide Squad, two projects which Gunn helmed, and that I'm sure he doesn't want to let go of, especially as his wife is one of the big main cast in Peacemaker. I'm pretty sure he's want to continue that series, and that series firmly takes place in the DCEU. So for everyone going, this is a complete reboot of the DCEU, I'm not sure that's the case, and partly this is why. The Peacemaker series and the Suicide Squad firmly take place in the world of the DCEU. It's got the Amanda Waller from that universe that has appeared in other movies in that universe. There are references all over the place to Justice League. Some of the Justice League appeared at the end of the Peacemaker season 1. We got the actual actors of the Flash and Aquaman, but there were silhouettes of Superman there. The Justice League exist in this universe, so you can't really continue that continuity of that show without also it being a continuation of the continuity of the Snyder films and the other like the Aquaman films, etc., because they are all part of the same interconnected web, and it doesn't work just kind of taking a part of it when it references other parts and saying, well, that film and that TV series is still in canon, but the bits that it references aren't, because it references them. That just doesn't work. And then we go on to say, I think it's very important here what he's saying about it being the reason they're not continuing Henry Cavill is because they want to go back to an earlier time in Superman's life. Now, this is going to be a little bit tricky, I guess, with keeping in the continuity of Man of Steel, because we saw Henry Cavill playing the role before he became Superman. So this is where my theory might come a little bit undone. I don't know. Let me know what you think in the comments below. But I don't think this is going to be a complete reboot. And I think it does leave open the possibility, at least, of Henry Cavill playing the part in the future. I think rather than a reboot, this is maybe an in-universe recasting as such, so that they can have some slightly different stories with a slightly younger Superman that Henry Cavill is now too old to play. That is what I think is going on, because how can you, like I say, how can you discount some of the continuity but keep some of it? It'll be a jumbled mess. I think you've got to say that some of it is in. If some of it's in, then the bits it connects to and references are in. So Peacemaker is, if that's going to say, and I really can't see him chucking out his own projects of the continuity, especially when one of them involves his wife. I think that's going to be... I mean, the one way they could do it is to use the Flash movie to sort of soft reboot and say that, oh, some of the stuff happened, but in a slightly different way. So, using that time travel element, using that multiverse element to give us a new universe which has some familiar elements from the previous ones. But then Peacemaker Season 2 would have to reflect that and not be a direct continuation of the continuity of Season 1, but a slightly sidestepped continuity in this new universe. It's possible they would do that, but that might be a bit confusing. I don't know. It's a whole big mess, this whole DCEU thing, and to be honest, I'm not the biggest DCEU fan anyway. I like some of the films, don't get me wrong. I really liked Man of Steel. I really liked James Gunn's The Suicide Squad. I really liked Harley Quinn, the Birds of Prey movie. Aquaman was fantastic. The first Wonder Woman was really fantastic. The second one less so, but the first one was really good. There have been some great movies in this, but it's not got the same hold over me as, say, the MCU has. I don't go to the cinema to see every one. If they reboot Superman, am I going to go see it? Probably not in the cinema. I'll probably watch it when it comes to streaming. We'll see. But it's not got the same hold over me as the MCU has. And therefore, maybe that's why I'm not as passionate about this news. I mean, I think it is a bad decision to recast him. I would have loved to have seen what Henry Cavill would have done with a James Gunn written Superman film. That would have been really interesting to see. Because he's writing this, by the way. James Gunn is writing the new Superman movie. He's confirmed that in another tweet. He said, somebody asked him, are you writing, directing? And he says, I am writing. Somebody else is going to direct. We haven't found that person yet. So yeah, it's a big mess. What do you think about this? Do you think it's a good idea? Do you think they should reboot the whole universe and discount all the continuity? Do you think they should do a soft reboot where they kind of reboot it in universe with the time travel? Or what do you think is going to happen with Peacemaker and the Suicide Squad, James Gunn's own projects? I think that is the sticking point that will make him not completely reboot the whole universe. He'll want to keep his own projects in the continuity. But I might be wrong. Let me know what you think in the comments below, and I'm sure we'll talk about this again when we find out what the actual answer is. For now, I'll see you later. Goodbye.